Hi, I'm Kate from the Small Things blog. This is my second frequently asked questions video. These questions are from Facebook fans that posted under the comment that I wrote that I was accepting new questions for another frequently asked question video. So if you would like to suggest something or ask a question for one of these FAQ videos, be sure to like the Small Things blog on Facebook. You can see whenever I'm taking new questions. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first question is from Katie. She asks, growing bangs out, is it worth it, and how can we get through the awkward process? So growing bangs out, I'm going to assume that she's referring to side bangs. And then after I talk about that, we can talk about growing out like a full fringe. Growing out side bangs is a hassle because they reach the point, mine are kind of at an okay length right now, but if they were like here, they reach the point where they're so long and heavy, you almost don't want to style them as bangs anymore because they just lay really flat and sort of pull your face down because you're used to them being kind of light and swoopy. So the easiest way to do that is to still get sort of the front section trimmed as you're growing out the back section, and then once the back section gets to a good length where you're used to kind of tucking that out of your face, the front section that you kept trimmed, you can kind of let that grow and it'll be a little bit more of a natural growing out process instead of just like growing it all together in one long section and just dealing with it. Another option though is to just kind of grow it out and deal with it. Bobby pins or like braids or twists or different ways you can get your bangs out of your face will help. And then the last suggestion I have for growing your bangs out is to move your part closer to the center as they're getting longer and longer. So if you still part pretty far over but your bangs are long, all you're going to get is this really like strong line of hair across the front, and it really doesn't look pretty from the side if you just have this long section. But if you've parted your hair a little closer to the center and you sort of have softness going back on both sides, that's an easy way to transition out of a side bang. Can you tell I talk with my hands? If you want to grow out straight across fringe, like full bangs, the easiest way to do that is to kind of turn them into side bangs. So begin parting them a little bit on whichever side you want to, and then just kind of part them with your fingers and maybe style with a little bit of hairspray. And then as they get longer and more into side bangs, you can do the growing out side bangs technique. So growing out your bangs is annoying, bottom line, but it gets to a point where you actually kind of enjoy having a longer bang as well. So stick with it if you're doing that. The second question comes from Catherine, and Catherine asks, what's the best way to grow out a graduated bob or an A-line cut and some transition hairstyles? So I know not everybody is wearing a graduated bob these days, but so many have, and it's really difficult, and I've even experienced this with my clients and myself, it's really difficult to transition out of that style. So the first thing to know is that cut, for the most part, is a really easy to style, sleek, simple, like it always looks great cut. So to grow out of that is really difficult because you kind of have to get used to having your hair a little bit more undone, maybe not so perfect. It might flip on your shoulders a little bit, or one side might flip out and the other side might do this wavy thing. So it's hard just to mentally grasp my hair's not going to be like nice and bent under and perfectly round in the back and cutting, you know, right under my chin. So it's such a, I love that haircut. I had it for years. So the easiest way to grow out of it is to grow it out to like your collarbone and keep the back of it cut at like the base of your neck or the top of your shoulders, and grow the front out. And once that gets to a good length in front and you've kept the back kind of short, before it gets too much on an angle, begin cutting the front of it off. So it's going to kind of feel like you're going in reverse because it's hard to lose hair around your face when you're growing your hair out. But by cutting the front of it off, you'll end up balancing out the angle so the back of it isn't so short. And you'll kind of turn it into a one-length bob about at your collarbone or right below your shoulders. And then keep a little bit of layering around the bottom and then just grow it out from there. So you kind of want to grow the front out, keep the back short until you get to a good place, and then cut the back up so you kind of get more of an even line. So again, this is also just my suggestion. Be sure to talk to your stylist because he or she may have a even easier transition style for you. So that's just what I've done in the past. That's what I did personally. And I have a lot of my clients that like that route because it's less severe, it's slower, but it's sort of a pretty way to transition out of that cut instead of just like chopping the line off and there you go, have short hair, have fun growing it out. Okay, the third question comes from Lauren, and she asks, do you recommend perms at all in any circumstances to your clients? So I don't, but I don't have any clients over the age of 70. I would say the majority of my clientele ranges somewhere in late 20s, 30s, and early 40s. I have a few older clients, but they're not perm clients. I personally don't like perms for a few reasons. One, I think they're pretty abrasive on the hair, but no more than color can be. So it's not like it's worse necessarily to do a perm than to do like a really extreme color technique. But it's really hard to grow out nicely because you end up having these straight roots and curly hair, and it's just, you gotta kind of deal with it. And oftentimes the curl pattern that you're left with, and this isn't like across the board, but oftentimes the curl pattern that you're left with when you leave the salon after you got a perm is not maybe what you had in mind. So it's a little bit unpredictable as far as maybe your communication with your stylist with what you want, or just what the chemicals are going to do to your hair. So it's really difficult to achieve a body wave because, again, it's not, all you're doing is kind of rinsing out the chemicals too soon so it doesn't lock too tightly around that rod, so you don't know sort of where the hair stop changing around the curling rod. So you may have a nice beautiful loose wave and it might be perfect, you might love it, or it might be a little bit too tight, or it might like almost fall out entirely in a week or so. So it's unpredictable, and I don't like that personally. I like to know exactly what will happen at the end of the chemical service with my clients. I'm not too much of a risk taker as far as that's concerned. That doesn't mean perms are bad. I would say it's kind of a personal preference thing. I don't think you need a perm to get a body wave look. I think that's something you could do with maybe the right amount of products and the right styling techniques. So I would, if I had a client that wanted a perm, I would maybe steer them away from it at first, and then if they really wanted it, I would have to send them to someone else anyways, because I don't do them. So perms are hard. They're not terrible, but I don't know how modern they are these days. So yeah, it can end up aging you, and you don't want that. Okay, Serena asks, how can I keep my curly hair from getting frizzy, and what kind of products can prevent frizz? So I kind of scanned through the questions, and a lot of you were asking, how can I prevent frizz? So first, let me point out it's August, and humidity is at its peak if you're in certain parts of the country, so frizz is just inevitable. That doesn't mean it's not annoying, but it's just going to happen. So the best way to cut frizz is to not touch your hair a lot during the day. So once you've styled your hair, try to keep your hands out of it. If you're going to style your hair curly, whether you've like scrunched it or let it air dry curly, or you've styled it with a curling iron, the right products and sort of timing of application of all those makes a really big difference. So if you're going to scrunch your hair, finding the right concoction of products to use when you scrunch your hair is like a lifetime challenge for people. Because one thing's for sure, and that is wet head is dead. So you don't want to use like gel and just scrunch your hair and have it look kind of wet and like really crunchy. So you might want to opt more towards like a mousse or cream or a like serum, but you would maybe have to mix a cream with a serum because you need hold around the curl, but you don't want stiffness, so it's hard. So finding the right concoction that works for you of those styling products is best. Your stylist can help direct you that way, and you personally can just try mixing and matching different things. Kind of like how, for me, Aquage Uplifting Foam is the best root lifter across the board. There's none better. I haven't found that with a curling product. I haven't found like the absolute dream, perfection, your hair's always gonna work curling product. And part of it is curly hair is unpredictable. Each person's hair is totally different, and what you want in your style is different. You know, it's not just like volume. You might want really soft touchable curls, you might want to encourage the curl, you might want to soften the curl a little bit. So you got to kind of find the right mixing of products for you. So aim more towards creams, serums, mousses, foams, that sort of stuff that are all very gentle in the hair. If you can avoid using hairspray, that's best as well, but you can use that dry to help prevent some frizz. And using like a wide tooth comb or not brushing through your hair, or the less touching and messing with your hair that you can do like after you've washed it, the better to keep frizz away. Also, as we get into the fall and winter, it won't be an issue anymore. I know that doesn't really help you right now, but finding the right concoction of products is difficult. So I don't have a perfect answer for you, but mix and match products. Doesn't matter if they're within the same brand or not. Just try and find the right texture for your hair. Okay, the next question is from CJ, and she, I think, might be a he, I couldn't tell, asks, what is the best product you can use after swimming? So I'm gonna assume that he or she meant, what can you do to like clean your hair off after you're swimming? And this is a good time of year to do this because we're getting to the end of summer. And I personally have been swimming because my husband and I are training for a sprint triathlon. So I'm very concerned about my hair. I really don't want it to have kind of that chemical pool residue. So there's something that's been around for years that I've used and love, and it's called a Malibu treatment. It's a deep clarifying salon-only treatment that your stylist can do on your hair at the salon. So call your salon and see if they do those. If it's not called a Malibu treatment, just ask for like a clarifying treatment and it would do the same thing. It's kind of a intense way, more than a clarifying shampoo that you would use at home, but it's an intense way to strip the chemicals and the extra stuff that's been added to your hair from the pool off without really affecting color or any other treatment you have on your hair. The next question is from Alyssa, and she asks, what is your biggest hair pet peeve? And everyone has, I mean, pet peeves, like everyone has little things that they get annoyed about. This doesn't annoy me, but this is something that I wish more women would understand, and I don't think it's that they don't get it, I think that they're unaware. But a lot of times there are parts in your hair that are like nicely placed, you know, kind of above your eye, and you've got a side part. And then sometimes you'll find a part that's like way too far over. And it might look good from the front because you have a really nice swoop, but as soon as you turn to the side, if your part is like right here, it looks really weird because you've got your hair going down here and you've got this huge amount of hair going this way. And if it doesn't stand up, that's fine, but it just looks strange from the side. So in the same way, like some center parts aren't flattering on people. So I wish that women would consider how their hair looks from all the angles instead of just the front. Because if the front looks great, great. I mean, great. Who doesn't want the front of their face to look great? But if you turn to the side and you have this really weird too far part in the back that doesn't know where to go, and it's just, you gotta mess with it in the front all the time, it's just gonna look really weird. And everyone's gonna say, your part is way too far over. So that's what I could think of for this question. Okay, the last question comes from Allison, and she asks what my thoughts are on keratin or smoothing treatments. It's a permanent solution for frizzy or curly hair, so it's a way to permanently, but it's gonna grow out, straighten your hair. I don't do these in the salon, and I have my colorist does them, so I've talked to her about it. So as far as the safety of those services, I don't really have an opinion on them. I don't do them, not because I think they're unsafe, I just don't do them. So I'll leave that up to you, or if you're wondering about it. As far as the effectiveness, they're fantastic. So if your hair is really curly and you want it to be straight every day, or you have a lot of frizz or really coarse, wiry, unruly hair, if you're comfortable with getting one of these treatments, whether it's a Brazilian blowout or any other kind of brand, they will absolutely straighten your hair and make it really smooth and strong and shiny. So those were my frequently asked questions that I chose from this week. I'm going to start doing these videos once a month, so be sure, like I said at the beginning, to like the Facebook fan page if you want to ask a question. And I try and pick the questions that most people would maybe want to know the answers to, so I won't be able to answer specific questions. So just keep that in mind if you're submitting a question. And if you have any other questions for me, check my frequently asked questions page on my blog, or you can watch my first frequently asked questions video that you can find on my blog or my YouTube channel. So I hope this was helpful and you got some information from this, and thanks for watching.